Dahlia, a young widow who, despite her own heartbreaks, dedicated her life to raising 14 children that other families had abandoned. Each one, she believed, would bring her the family she dreamed of, yet 13 left her after they finished college, returning to the families that had once given them away. Stick around to listen to Dahlia's story, a journey of love, resilience, and selflessness that will touch your heart. In the heart of rural Jamaica, where the lush green hills meet the azure sky, lived Dahlia, a woman whose life had been a tapestry of resilience, love, and the bittersweet complexities of human relationships. Widowed at a young age, Dahlia had dedicated her life to nurturing abandoned and less fortunate children, ultimately raising 13 of them as her own. Dahlia's modest earnings as a basic school teacher were hardly enough to sustain a household, yet she poured her meager savings into providing a warm and loving home for her ever-growing family. With a heart overflowing with compassion, she instilled in her children the values of hard work, kindness, and the belief that education was the key to a brighter future. As the years passed, Dahlia watched with a mixture of pride and heartache as her children grew older and ventured out into the world. One by one, they made promises to return and support her, only to eventually abandon her, breaking those vows and leaving Dahlia to grapple with feelings of betrayal and loneliness. The historical context of rural Jamaica at the time painted a challenging picture. Economic struggles and social inequities were pervasive, and single mothers like Dahlia often bore the brunt of these burdens. Yet Dahlia's unwavering determination and her faith in the transformative power of love kept her going, even in the face of such adversity. Dahlia's days were a delicate balance of teaching her students, tending to her modest home, and pouring her heart into the children she had taken under her wing. She would often sit on the porch, gazing out at the lush landscape, her mind drifting to the memories of her own children, their laughter, their dreams, and the aching void they had left behind. One particularly poignant memory stood out in Dahlia's mind. It was the day her youngest child, a son named Jamal, had promised to return after completing his studies in the city. Dahlia had beamed with pride, imagining a future where Jamal would help support her and perhaps even bring his own family to live with her. But as the months turned into years, Jamal's letters grew fewer, and eventually, the silence became deafening. After the heartbreak of being abandoned by the 13 children she had raised, Dahlia poured her heart into her role as a teacher, finding purpose and comfort in nurturing the young minds of her community. Each day she arrived early to prepare lessons and create a warm, encouraging environment for her students, many of whom came from challenging backgrounds. She believed that, just as she had once given her children the chance for a brighter future, she could do the same for her students. Teaching became her sanctuary, a place where she could channel her love and dedication without the fear of being left behind. Yet, her efforts did not go unnoticed by the community, and questions inevitably arose. People would ask, often innocently, why her children had all left, wondering if they kept in touch or if they were doing well. Each inquiry cut deeper than the last, a painful reminder of the void their absence had left in her heart. Dahlia, however, would only smile gently, choosing silence over words. She knew she had loved them fully and given them every opportunity, and that knowledge alone was her solace, even though the wounds of abandonment still lingered. In the quiet moments after school, Dahlia would sit alone in the empty classroom, reflecting on the choices she had made. Though her heart ached for the family she had lost, she found peace in knowing she had done her best for each of them, even if they hadn't stayed. Through her students, Dahlia felt a renewed sense of purpose, as if every lesson, every act of kindness, was a chance to mend the broken pieces of her heart. Her devotion to teaching became her healing, and in the faces of her students she saw hope, the very hope she had once given her own children. As the years passed, Dahlia's 13 children, whom she had nurtured with unwavering love and devotion, began to leave one by one. Each departure was a bittersweet moment, filled with both pride and heartache. Dahlia watched as her children, now grown, ventured out into the world, chasing their dreams and seeking a life beyond the confines of their rural Jamaican community. The first to leave was her eldest, a son named Elijah. He had always been a bright and ambitious child, and Dahlia beamed with pride as he secured a scholarship to a prestigious university in the capital city. "I'll come back and help you, Mama," he had promised, his eyes shining with determination. But as the months turned into years, Elijah's visits grew fewer and farther between, and the promises he had made faded like the setting sun. Next, it was her daughters, Leah and Rachel, who left to pursue their own paths. Leah, a talented seamstress, opened a small shop in the nearby town, while Rachel, ever the adventurer, joined a community development program that took her to the far corners of the island. Their departures left Dahlia's heart heavy, but she consoled herself with the knowledge that they were carving out their own futures, just as she had hoped. The cycle continued, with each of Dahlia's children, one by one, leaving the nest. Some found success in their chosen fields, while others struggled to make ends meet. But no matter their circumstances, they all seemed to forget the promises they had made to their mother, the woman who had sacrificed everything to ensure their well-being. Dahlia's days were now filled with a profound loneliness, the once bustling household reduced to an echoing silence. She would sit on her porch, watching the sun rise and set, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as she waited, ever hopeful, for her children to return. But the visits grew increasingly rare, and the distance between them seemed to widen with each passing year. One by one, Dahlia's children had abandoned her, leaving her to grapple with the weight of their broken promises and the ache of their absence. She had poured her heart and soul into raising them, only to be left alone, her dreams of a loving, supportive family shattered. Yet, despite the pain, Dahlia refused to let her spirit be crushed. She found solace in the memories of her children's laughter, the sound of their footsteps racing through the house, and the warmth of their embraces. These recollections sustained her, reminding her of the love that had once filled her home. As the years wore on, Dahlia's resilience was tested time and time again. She watched as her children's own children, her grandchildren, were born and grew up, often without ever meeting their grandmother. The sting of this additional abandonment was a wound that refused to heal, a constant reminder of the fragility of familial bonds. But Dahlia never lost hope. She continued to write letters to her children, sharing the news of her life and expressing her longing for their return. She tended to her small garden, finding solace in the growth and renewal of the plants, a metaphor for the resilience she strived to embody. In the quiet moments, Dahlia would reflect on the sacrifices she had made, the love she had poured into her children, and the dreams she had nurtured for their futures. She had given them everything, and yet they had chosen to leave, to forge their own paths without her. The weight of this realization was a heavy burden to bear, but Dahlia refused to let it consume her. As the sun set on another day, Dahlia would gaze out over the familiar landscape of her rural community, her eyes searching the horizon for any sign of her children's return. She knew that the cycle of abandonment had become a part of her life, a pattern that seemed destined to repeat itself. But deep within her heart, a glimmer of hope remained, a belief that one day her children would remember the love she had offered them, and they would come back to her, reuniting the family she had so desperately fought to keep together. The sun had barely risen over the lush, rolling hills of rural Jamaica when a faint knock echoed through Dahlia's modest home. Rubbing the sleep from her eyes, she made her way to the front door, unsure of what to expect. As she pulled it open, a distant relative stood before her, cradling a tiny bundle in her arms. "Dahlia, I'm so sorry to disturb you, but I couldn't think of anyone else to turn to," the woman said, her voice trembling. "This little one was left on my doorstep last night. I can't keep her, and I know how much you've done for children in need. Please, will you take her in?" Dahlia's heart sank as she peered down at the sleeping infant, her mind racing with 1,000 questions. After the heartbreak of watching her 13 children one by one abandon her, the thought of taking in another child filled her with a mixture of trepidation and a glimmer of hope. "I don't know," Dahlia hesitated, her fingers gently caressing the baby's soft cheek. "I'm not as young as I once was, and raising a child is no easy task. What if she, too, leaves me one day?" The woman placed a comforting hand on Dahlia's shoulder. "I understand your hesitation, but I know in my heart that you are the only one who can give this child the love and care she deserves. Please, Dahlia, won't you at least try?" Dahlia's gaze shifted from the sleeping infant to the pleading eyes of her relative. She thought of her own children, the laughter and joy they had once brought into her life, and the painful void their departures had left behind. Perhaps this was her chance to fill that void, to pour her love into a child who had no one else. With a deep breath, Dahlia nodded. "All right, I'll take her in, but you must promise to help me, at least in the beginning. I'm not sure I have the strength to do this alone." The woman's face lit up with relief. "Of course, Dahlia, I'll do whatever I can. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." She gently placed the sleeping infant into Dahlia's waiting arms, and Dahlia felt a surge of both trepidation and tenderness. As the woman turned to leave, Dahlia called out, "Wait, what is her name?" "Natalia," the woman replied. "Her name is Natalia." Dahlia looked down at the tiny bundle, her fingers tracing the delicate features of the child's face. "Natalia," she whispered, the name rolling off her tongue with a mix of uncertainty and hope. "Welcome to your new home." In the days that followed, Dahlia's modest home was filled with the sounds of Natalia's cries and coos. The elderly woman found herself navigating the challenges of caring for an infant once again, her muscles aching from the constant rocking and soothing. Yet there was a glimmer in her eyes that had been absent for so long, a spark of purpose and renewed vigor. As Natalia grew, Dahlia marveled at the child's resilience and the way she seemed to burrow deeper into her heart with each passing day. The baby's wide, curious eyes and infectious laughter slowly chipped away at the walls Dahlia had built around her heart, reminding her of the joy and love that had once filled her home. Still, Dahlia couldn't help but feel a twinge of fear. What if Natalia, too, left her one day, just as her other children had? The thought of enduring that pain again was almost too much to bear. She tried to push it away, focusing instead on the present, on the warmth of Natalia's tiny body snuggled against her own, on the way the child's tiny fingers wrapped around her own. One evening, as Dahlia rocked Natalia to sleep, she found herself whispering a silent prayer. "Please, God, don't let her leave me. I don't think I could bear it a second time." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Yeah," and she held the child even closer, determined to protect her from the heartbreak that had shaped Dahlia's own life. In the quiet moments that followed, Dahlia made a silent vow. She would pour every ounce of her love and energy into raising Natalia, determined to break the cycle of abandonment that had haunted her for so long. This time, she would do whatever it took to ensure that her child, her 14th child, would never leave her side. As Natalia's soft breaths lulled Dahlia into a peaceful slumber, the elderly woman knew that her heart had once again been open to the possibility of love, of hope, and of a future that might just be different from the one she had known. The morning sun filtered through the tattered curtains, casting a warm glow on the modest living room where Dahlia sat, sipping her tea. Her eyes scanned the familiar surroundings, a small smile playing on her lips as she listened to the gentle patter of little feet approaching. "Mama Dahlia, I'm ready for school." Natalia's voice rang out, her excitement palpable. Dahlia turned to see the young girl, now 5 years old, standing before her, her school uniform neatly pressed and her backpack slung over her shoulder. Dahlia's heart swelled with pride as she took in the sight of the child she had welcomed into her life just a few short years ago. "Come, my darling," Dahlia said, beckoning Natalia to her side. She gently smoothed the girl's hair and adjusted the collar of her shirt, her touch filled with a mother's tenderness. "Let me have a look at you." Natalia beamed, basking in the attention and affection Dahlia showered upon her. In the years since her arrival, Dahlia had poured her heart and soul into nurturing this child, determined to provide her with the love and stability her previous children had lacked. Each morning, Dahlia would wake early to prepare a hearty breakfast, ensuring Natalia had a full belly before the long walk to the village school. Along the way, they would engage in lively conversations, with Dahlia imparting the wisdom of her years and Natalia listening with rapt attention. "Mama Dahlia, tell me again about the time you went to the market in Montego Bay," Natalia would often request, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Dahlia would oblige, regaling the child with tales of her adventures, the sights and sounds of the bustling marketplace, and the friendly faces of the vendors. Natalia would hang on every word, her imagination transported to the vibrant scenes Dahlia described. As they walked, Dahlia would point out the lush foliage, the towering mountains, and the winding river that snaked through the valley. "See, my child, how the land provides for us," she would say. "We must be grateful for the gifts nature bestows." Natalia would nod solemnly, her small hand clasped in Dahlia's weathered one, absorbing the lessons of gratitude and reverence for the natural world. Upon reaching the school, Dahlia would bid Natalia farewell with a warm embrace and a gentle reminder to work hard and make her proud. Watching the girls scamper off to join her classmates, Dahlia would linger for a moment, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and trepidation. The afternoons were spent in quiet contemplation as Dahlia returned to their humble abode. She would tend to her small garden, finding solace in the rhythmic motion of her hands as she coaxed life from the soil. It was here, amidst the vibrant blooms and the rustling leaves, that Dahlia would allow herself to reflect on her journey. "Oh, my Natalia," she would whisper to the wind, "how different you are from the others. I see the light in your eyes, the spark of determination that burns within you. You will not abandon me, will you, my child?" As the days turned into weeks and months, Dahlia's bond with Natalia deepened. She marveled at the girl's thirst for knowledge, her insatiable curiosity, and the way she eagerly soaked up every lesson Dahlia shared. Natalia's academic prowess filled Dahlia with a sense of pride that she had not experienced in years. When the time came for Natalia to enroll in the village's secondary school, Dahlia faced a difficult decision. Her meager earnings as a teacher were barely enough to sustain them, let alone cover the costs of Natalia's education. Yet, the determined gleam in the girl's eyes, and the memory of her own children's unfulfilled dreams, spurred Dahlia into action. Dahlia approached the school's headmaster, her hands trembling as she presented her savings, a lifetime's worth of pennies and pounds carefully tucked away. "Please, sir, allow Natalia to attend. I will work twice as hard. I will do whatever it takes to ensure she has the education she deserves." The headmaster, moved by Dahlia's unwavering commitment, agreed to grant Natalia a scholarship, understanding the importance of investing in the future of their community. As Natalia embarked on her secondary education, Dahlia's heart swelled with a renewed sense of hope. She watched her daughter thrive, her grades soaring and her confidence blossoming. Each evening, Dahlia would listen intently as Natalia shared the lessons she had learned, her eyes shining with the same fervor that had once graced the faces of Dahlia's own children. Yet, the shadow of her past experiences lingered, a constant reminder of the heartbreak that had once consumed her. Dahlia found herself torn between the joy of Natalia's success and the fear of the inevitable, the day when Natalia too would leave her behind. "No, this time will be different," Dahlia would whisper to herself, her resolve strengthening with each passing day. "I will not let my heart be broken again. Natalia will remember. She will not forget me." As the years unfolded, Dahlia's unwavering dedication to Natalia's education became the driving force in their lives. She sacrificed her own comforts, forgoing new clothes and luxuries, to ensure that Natalia had every opportunity to excel. And Natalia, in turn, poured her heart into her studies, determined to make Dahlia's sacrifices worthwhile. In the quiet moments when Natalia was lost in her books, Dahlia would watch her with a mixture of pride and trepidation, her mind racing with the possibilities that lay ahead. She knew that the day would come when Natalia would spread her wings and soar, but this time Dahlia was determined to hold on to the promise of a future that was different. A future where the cycle of abandonment would finally be broken. As the years passed, Natalia blossomed under Dahlia's unwavering care and guidance. The bond between the two women grew stronger with each milestone, their lives intertwined in a tapestry of love and hope. Natalia's early years were filled with a sense of security and belonging that Dahlia's other children had never truly experienced. Dahlia poured her heart and soul into nurturing the young girl, determined to break the cycle of abandonment that had haunted her own life. She meticulously planned Natalia's educational journey, ensuring that every opportunity was available to her. Dahlia's modest income as a teacher was supplemented by the small stipend she received from the government for caring for Natalia. Though it was a struggle, she managed to secure a spot for the girl in the local primary school, where Natalia quickly excelled. Her natural curiosity and thirst for knowledge were a source of immense pride for Dahlia, who beamed with joy as she watched her daughter's mind blossom. As Natalia progressed through the grades, Dahlia's fears of abandonment began to resurface. She remembered the promises her own children had made, only to be broken one by one. The thought of Natalia following in their footsteps filled her with a sense of dread, and she redoubled her efforts to ensure that her daughter's education remained her top priority. "Education is the key to a better life, my child," Dahlia would often tell Natalia, her eyes shining with determination. "It is the only way to break free from the cycle of poverty and neglect that has plagued our family for generations." Natalia listened intently, her young mind absorbing the lessons her mother imparted. She could see the pain behind Dahlia's words, the scars of a lifetime of disappointment. Determined to honor her mother's sacrifice, Natalia threw herself wholeheartedly into her studies, excelling in every subject. As Natalia progressed through secondary school, Dahlia's fears began to subside. She watched with pride as her daughter navigated the challenges of adolescence, maintaining her focus and determination. Natalia's academic achievements were a testament to Dahlia's unwavering love and guidance, and the older woman couldn't help but feel a sense of redemption. When the time came for Natalia to apply to university, Dahlia knew that she would have to make yet another sacrifice. She had diligently saved every penny she could, determined to ensure that Natalia had the opportunity to pursue her dreams. With trembling hands, Dahlia presented Natalia with the meager savings she had accumulated, her eyes brimming with tears. "This is all I have, my child," Dahlia said, her voice thick with emotion. "It is not much, but it is all I can give you. I pray that it will be enough to secure your future and that you will never have to know the pain of abandonment that I have endured." Natalia's eyes widened as she realized the true extent of her mother's sacrifice. She pulled Dahlia into a fierce embrace, her own tears mingling with the older woman's. "Oh, Mama," Natalia whispered, "I will make you proud. I will honor your sacrifice and never let you down. This is my promise to you." Dahlia held her daughter close, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and trepidation. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she also knew that Natalia was different, a shining beacon of hope in a life that had been shrouded in darkness. As the day of Natalia's graduation approached, Dahlia found herself torn between excitement and apprehension. She had poured her heart and soul into this girl, and the thought of her leaving, even for the pursuit of higher education, filled Dahlia with a familiar sense of dread. Yet, as she watched Natalia don her cap and gown, Dahlia couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Her daughter stood tall, her eyes shining with determination, a testament to the resilience and strength that Dahlia had instilled in her. In that moment, Dahlia knew that her sacrifice had been worth it. Natalia was no longer just a child she had taken in, but a young woman who had become the very embodiment of Dahlia's dreams. A dream of breaking the cycle of abandonment and creating a legacy of love and hope. As the graduation ceremony unfolded, Dahlia's heart swelled with a mixture of emotions. She watched as Natalia's name was called, and the young woman strode across the stage, her diploma held high. In that moment, Dahlia's fears and doubts melted away, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude and relief. The road to this moment had been long and arduous, but Dahlia knew that it had all been worth it. Natalia had not only fulfilled her own dreams, but had also honored the sacrifices that Dahlia had made. As the ceremony drew to a close, Dahlia found herself surrounded by a community of well-wishers, all of whom had witnessed the transformation of this young woman and the unwavering love of the woman who had nurtured her. In the days that followed, Dahlia and Natalia shared moments of quiet reflection, their bond stronger than ever. Dahlia knew that the future held no guarantees, but in Natalia she saw a glimmer of hope. A hope that the cycle of abandonment had finally been broken, and that the legacy of love she had built would continue to thrive. The sun beamed brightly on the lush, verdant campus of the University of the West Indies, casting a warm glow over the sea of graduates adorned in crisp white gowns and mortarboards. Dahlia, now in her late 70s, sat in the front row, her eyes fixed on the stage, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and anticipation. This was the day she had dreamed of, the moment when her last child, Natalia, would walk across that stage and receive her diploma, breaking the cycle of abandonment that had haunted Dahlia's life. As the ceremony began, Dahlia's gaze followed Natalia's every step, marveling at the young woman she had become. Gone was the fragile, abandoned infant Dahlia had taken in all those years ago. In her place stood a confident, poised individual, the embodiment of Dahlia's unwavering love and determination. When Natalia's name was called, Dahlia felt a surge of emotions, a lifetime of sacrifices and heartaches culminating in this single moment. She watched as Natalia accepted her diploma, a radiant smile lighting up her face. In that instant, Dahlia knew that all the struggles, the sleepless nights, and the financial sacrifices had been worth it. Her daughter, her 14th child, had triumphed. As the ceremony drew to a close, Dahlia waited patiently, her eyes scanning the sea of graduates, searching for the familiar face that would complete the picture. Finally, she spotted Natalia, weaving her way through the crowd, her gown billowing behind her. Dahlia rose to her feet, her arms outstretched, and in that moment, the two women collided in a tight embrace, tears of joy streaming down their cheeks. "My darling, my precious Natalia," Dahlia whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I am so proud of you, my child." Natalia clung to Dahlia, the weight of her gratitude and love etched in every squeeze. "Thank you, Mama," she murmured. "Thank you for never giving up on me." The two women stood there, lost in each other's arms, as the world around them faded away. In that embrace, the cycle of abandonment that had haunted Dahlia's life was finally broken, replaced by the unbreakable bond of a mother and daughter, united by an unwavering love. As they pulled apart, Dahlia cupped Natalia's face, her eyes shining with a lifetime of wisdom and experience. "My child, you have brought me more joy and fulfillment than I ever thought possible. When I first took you in, I was afraid of losing you, just as I had lost the others. But you, Natalia, you have proven to be the light that has guided me through the darkness." Natalia's eyes glistened with tears. "And you, Mama, have been the anchor that has kept me grounded, the strength that has carried me through. I would not be here without you." The two women walked hand in hand, their steps in sync, as they made their way through the throngs of graduates and their families. Dahlia's heart swelled with a sense of wholeness, a feeling she had long forgotten after the successive departures of her previous children. This time, she knew Natalia would not abandon her. As they reached the car, Dahlia turned to Natalia, her expression filled with a mixture of pride and contemplation. "My dear, I have lived a life filled with both joy and sorrow, with love and abandonment. But you have been the constant that has kept me going, the reason I never lost hope." Natalia squeezed Dahlia's hand, her eyes shining with understanding. "And I, Mama, will never leave you. This is my promise to you, my vow to break the cycle that has haunted our family. From this day forward, we will walk this journey together, side by side." Dahlia nodded, a serene smile spreading across her face. In that moment, she knew that her life's work had not been in vain, that the sacrifices she had made had been worth every tear, every sleepless night, and every moment of anguish. Natalia's success was not just her own, but a testament to the enduring power of love and the resilience of the human spirit. As they drove away from the campus, Dahlia gazed out the window, her heart overflowing with gratitude. The once barren fields of her youth had given way to lush, verdant landscapes, a metaphor for the transformation that had taken place within her own life. She had weathered the storms, nurtured the seeds of hope, and now she was reaping the bountiful harvest of a love that had transcended time and circumstance. In the rearview mirror, Dahlia caught a glimpse of Natalia, her face radiant with pride and purpose. This was not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter, one where the cycle of abandonment would be replaced by the unbreakable bond of a mother and daughter, united in their journey to create a legacy of love and hope. As the years passed, Natalia found her calling as a nurse at the local hospital, allowing her to stay close to Dahlia, her beloved mother. Through every challenge, Natalia stood by Dahlia's side, caring for her as she grew older, returning the unwavering love Dahlia had shown her from infancy. For Dahlia, having Natalia in her life filled a void left by the 13 children who had turned away from her, offering her a love she thought she would never experience again. At last, Dahlia had found peace, having been called mother by a daughter who loved her as deeply as she loved in return. Together, they had rewritten their story, bound by a love that healed every scar and nurtured every joy. The story of Dahlia and Natalia teaches us that love and resilience can overcome even the deepest scars of abandonment. Though Dahlia faced loss and disappointment, she never gave up on love or on giving someone a chance at a better life. In nurturing Natalia, Dahlia not only changed her own destiny, but also created a legacy of compassion, breaking the cycle of abandonment. This story reminds us that family is not just about blood, but about the bonds we nurture, and that true fulfillment comes when we open our hearts to those who need us most. In the end, love has the power to heal, to break cycles of pain, and to build a foundation of hope for future generations. Subscribe for more inspiring stories and valuable lessons that resonate with life's challenges and triumphs.